if you follow the path to the left, you'll find the reserve map. Enjoy your visit.
Welcome to the Titanoboa Reserve. This facility was not built for a collection of snakes, it was built for one, a single Titanoboa. To keep an animal like that alive, the zoo cannot simply build an enclosure. It has to recreate a world. Inside this reserve is a controlled Paleocene swamp, inspired by the warm river forests of what is now northern Colombia, around 58 to 60 million years ago. Every section along the path is part of that system. The river life shows the food base beneath the surface. Turtle Bank reveals the armored animals that moved through these muddy banks. Croc Channel brings us closer to the predators that shared the water. And at the end of the route is Titanoboa Basin, the main containment habitat for the largest snake ever discovered. The reserve is heated, reinforced and monitored from above. The animals here are not random exhibits. They are pieces of the same ancient ecosystem. And every path leads deeper into the world built for Titanoboa. Before we reach Titanoboa, the reserve begins with the river itself. This is Paleocene river life, the food system beneath the surface. In the warm waterways of what is now northern Colombia, around 58 to 60 million years ago, these rivers were filled with large freshwater fish. Two of the most important groups here were lungfish and ancient bony fish relatives known as osteoglossomorphs. The lungfish were slow, heavy-bodied animals, built for muddy, low-energy water. Their exact full size and weight are difficult to pin down from the fossils, but Cerrejón lungfish were large for their kind, with powerful jaws and crushing tooth plates. Their closest living comparison today would be animals like the South American lungfish, which still lives in slow, swampy waters. Alongside them were osteoglossomorph fish, ancient relatives of modern arapaima and arowana. These were long-bodied river animals moving through roots, branches and cloudy brown water, feeding on smaller fish, insects and whatever they could take near the surface. For Titanoboa, this mattered. A snake this large did not need a river filled with tiny meals. It needed a living system rich enough to support giants. The fish were not just background life, they were the base of the reserve. Past the river, the reserve rises into Turtle Bank. At first, this part of the swamp feels calmer. The water is slower here, the banks are wider, the animals move with less urgency. But in the Paleocene world of northern Colombia, even the turtles were built for pressure. One of them was Cerrejonimus. Cerrejonimus was a freshwater turtle from the same Cerrejón ecosystem as Titanoboa. It was not the largest animal in the swamp, but it carried something important, a thick, heavy shell. In a river filled with crocodiliforms, giant fish, and a snake large enough to swallow dangerous prey, armor was not decoration, it was survival. A turtle like this may have spent much of its day near the muddy banks, moving between shallow water, exposed roots, and warm patches of ground. It likely fed on plant material, small animals, and whatever the riverbank could provide. But Turtlebank also holds something larger: Carbonemys. Carbonemys was a giant freshwater turtle from the same formation. Its skull was enormous, its body heavily built, and unlike smaller turtles, this was not simply an animal hiding from the food chain. It was part of it. In this reserve, the turtles show us something important. Titanoboa did not live in an empty swamp. It lived in a world where reptiles had size, armor, and strength. And even here, among the shells and slow-moving water, the river was never completely safe. From Turtlebank, the path narrows into Croc Channel. The water changes here, it becomes darker, slower, harder to read. This is where the river predators begin to appear. The smaller animal in this section is Cerrejonisuchus. Cerrejonisuchus was a crocodiliform from the Cerrejón Formation, living in the same ancient ecosystem as Titanoboa around 58 to 60 million years ago. It was not a giant. At roughly 6 to 7 feet long, it was closer in size to a large modern reptile than to the monsters farther down the river. But that size is what makes it important. Cerrejonisuchus was dangerous to smaller animals, but beside Titanoboa, it may have been prey. This is one of the clearest reminders of scale in the reserve. An animal that looks like a predator to us could become food in the shadow of something larger. Farther into the channel is Acherontisuchus. This was a much larger river crocodiliform, reaching around 20 feet long. It lived in the same Colombian coal mine system that preserved Titanoboa, and it likely spent much of its life in the water, hunting fish through the warm Paleocene rivers. Acherontisuchus was not just background life, it was a major predator. Its world was one of ambush, patience, and sudden movement. But even here, the hierarchy was not simple. The crocs hunted the fish, the turtles carried armor, and somewhere deeper in the same river system, Titanoboa moved through the water with enough size to change the rules for everything around it. At the end of the reserve, the path reaches Titanoboa Basin. This is the reason the facility exists. Titanoboa cerrejonensis lived in the warm rainforests of what is now northern Colombia, around 58 to 60 million years ago. It appeared after the age of non-avian dinosaurs, in a world where tropical rivers were rich, humid, and crowded with reptiles. And in that world, Titanoboa became the largest snake yet discovered. Estimates place it between 42 and 49 feet long, with a mean weight of around 2,500 pounds. But numbers do not fully explain an animal like this. A snake that large is not just long. It is weight, it is muscle, it is an animal that turns water into cover. Titanoboa was related to boas and anacondas, and like them, it was not a venomous predator. Its danger came from size, power, and ambush. In a muddy river, a body this large could stay partly hidden, waiting beneath the surface while fish, turtles, and crocodiliforms moved through the same water. Here at the reserve, containment is built around that reality. The basin is heated, reinforced, and watched from above. Keepers do not handle an animal like this directly. Medical checks, feeding procedures, and movement tracking all happen from behind barriers, using remote systems, upper walkways, and controlled access points. Because this is not a snake that can be managed by strength, it has to be managed by distance. For most visitors, Titanoboa is seen only in pieces. A coil beneath the water, a shadow passing the glass, a head rising through the mist, and then, for a moment, the full animal becomes clear. The river was not simply where Titanoboa lived. The river was how it disappeared. Today's adventure was a viewer request. So here's the question for the next expedition. If you could choose one animal from any period of time to see here at the Real Dinosaur Zoo, what would you choose? Let us know in the comments. Your requests help shape the reserve, the habitats, and the stories we build next. And if you enjoyed today's adventure, make sure you subscribe before you leave. It helps support the park, and it means a great deal to our staff here at the zoo. Until next time, stay behind the glass.